All right, it is good to be in the Lord's house again tonight. If you have your Bibles, take them and go to Judges chapter 6 tonight. Judges chapter 6, as we'll do our best here to pull out what the text has for us tonight, what the Lord has shown us. We're going to try to cover this chapter here tonight. This has become one of my favorite Bible characters here in the judge by the name of Gideon. The judge Gideon here. I love this individual as I've studied and looked at him because I see a lot of us in what Gideon was going through. Not necessarily in the fighting and all of that, but Gideon's a big sign guy. When he thinks the Lord's telling him to do something, he's got to have a sign. And then when the Lord gives him a sign, he's still scared to do what the Lord has told him to do. And if that is not us, I don't know what is. That is us to a T tonight. Lord, I'd love to serve you. I'd love to do. If you'll tell me what to do, I'll do it. And then he tells us, and there's no doubts in our mind what we're supposed to be doing. But then it becomes, Lord, I know what you want me to do, but if you want me to do it, now you got to make me brave and courageous enough to do what I needed you to show me that I was supposed to do anyway. So that's Gideon in a nutshell, and that tends to be us as well. But I do want to take the text tonight and try to bring some things out to maybe help us understand it. I've got a few more maps tonight. I don't know if that's helping or hurting to keep everybody in. Me and Sue were talking on the way over here. It seems like every church that I've ever been to, Sunday mornings are good, and Sunday nights half time seem to be somewhat of a drag. I don't like draggy services, so we're doing everything we possibly can to try to get things lively here tonight and help us have a good service. I told Sue my goal is for Sunday nights, if it is kind of low, for it not to be my fault. And I know that sounds bad, but I want to do everything I possibly can. I want to study. I want to pray. I want to try to have illustrations and maps and whatever I can do to try to bring us in tonight so that we have another good time around the Word of God. If we're going to take time out to come all the way over here on Sunday afternoon, let's have church. Let's have church. Let's get what the Lord's got for us and be excited to be here tonight. So Judges chapter 6, let's start out here in verse number 1. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. Starting to sound like a broken record on that one. Here we go again. They have once again gone and done evil in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord, pay attention, the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. So Brother Matt, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get that first map up here and let's talk about where this is happening. Where everything is taking place here in the text tonight. Technical difficulties already. There we go. All right, so you can see where Gideon is listed there. I don't know if y'all can really tell it or not. Right there, look at the purple circle for Zebulun. Go down, that's Gideon right there. He's over here in Ophrah. He's right there, and that's where all of this is taking place. Now, you'll see in a map here in a minute, this is just south of that Mount Tabor that we talked about there with Deborah and the 900 chariots of iron. It's all still happening here in the same area. Now, let me tell you about these Midianites just a little bit here, okay? The Midianites. I don't know if y'all have caught on to that name and where it's coming from, but we'll find that this is another group of people that we have from way back when. Matter of fact, they come all the way back from Abraham. It's another group of people that has lasted this long. You'll find that these Midianites here, they're going to come out of Abraham's third marriage. Yes, third marriage. He married Sarah and Hagar. He did actually marry her. There's a certain verse there that says she became his wife. So he did marry Hagar. She was not just a handmaiden. But then in Genesis 25, Sarah is dead and gone now, and he's married a third lady by the name of Keturah. And you'll find that Midian here is going to come out of her line there. Matter of fact, memory serves, Genesis 25 verse 1 says that he got married to her, and then verse 4, I believe it is, talks about Midian and how that these individuals are going to come out of the wife of Abraham, Keturah here. Now, before we go too far on this, I want to go ahead and step back and remind everybody that Isaac is not the only child of Abraham that is promised to be a great nation. He's not the only one. The same thing happened to the first son, Ishmael. He is promised to be a great child as well. Matter of fact, you go and you look at all of these children of Abraham, and every one of them, it seems, has become the father of some group of people here, and the Lord has blessed them on down the years, and they're still hanging around even today. I was listening to an individual, and he was preaching. He's a very well-known prophecy preacher around here, and he dealt with the sons of Abraham and where they all were at. I'm not going to do that. This individual puts north of 60 hours a week in study every single week. I can't compete with that, so I'm going to let him just preach that message. If you want to hear it, you'll have to hear him preach it. But he did talk a lot about these other sons of Abraham. So these Midians here is one of them as well. Verse number 2, and the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel, and because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them dens, which are in the mountains, and caves and strongholds. This is kind of sounding like how they had to do when Deborah was around, or right before Deborah got here. Remember, they couldn't live in their villages anymore. They couldn't walk the highways anymore. They were hiding. They had to go back to the walled cities in an area where they were safe, where they could get some protection there. Well, that's what's happening here in the text. They've had to go and resort to living in these hidden places, in these mountain dens, in these caves, in their strongholds. Things have gotten so bad from the oppression of the Midianites here that they're not safe living in their normal areas. They're not safe living out in their normal homes. In verse 3, and so it was when Israel had sown that the Midianites came up. Came up. There's your key if you want to know where the Midianites are. Let's step back again all the way to the book of Exodus. I know y'all love when I do that. I tell you to go to one text and then I preach however many books of the Bible are before that. But there's another individual that spent a little bit of time in the land of Midian. Does anybody remember who that might have been? Think back when the children of Israel are in bondage in Egypt. There was a certain individual who may or may not have heard God speak out of a burning bush. Moses. I don't know if that's ringing any bells yet or not. But Moses there, if y'all remember, he ran out and he killed that Egyptian there, and he ran out, and where did he go? He went to the land of Midian. He went to that well. He helped those girls there water their father's flocks, and they took him back to Jethro's house there, who was a priest of Midian, and he lived in the land of Midian until he saw the burning bush, and God brought him back out. So where is the land of Midian? I don't have it on that map. If you want to see it, you'll have to go to the back page of your Bible. But if you'll look where Egypt is, and it's in the northeastern tip of Africa, you come right across the Red Sea. You're going to hit that Arabian Peninsula there, and then you jump across that again, and you're going to cross the other tip of the Red Sea. The Red Sea looks like a Y. Looks like a Y. At the top right of that Y, there's the land of Midian. This map doesn't get big enough to show you, and y'all will be able to see everything else too. But when the Bible is saying that Midian here has come up, they are coming up. That's what it's talking about. They're coming from right there, just across from Egypt, up into the land of Israel. As a matter of fact, if you follow that Jordan River there that runs right through the Sea of Galilee, it's going to go on down. It's going to hit the Dead Sea. You go just south of the Dead Sea, down there, it'd be, keep on going down. It's down south of the red for Reuben there. About 50 miles south of that, you're going to find where Midian's territory starts. You're going to find where those individuals are at. Now the Amalekites here, you'll find that they've got to come up as well, but they're not coming up from right there. Matter of fact, they're on your map. Look to the left of the green dot. You see the Amalekites right there. So you've got their southern neighbor here. You've got the ones that are causing trouble. You have the ones that are coming up all the way from down south of Israel in the Promised Land, and they're heading up to cause trouble there. So the Amalekites and the children of the east. So not only do they have people coming from down south of them to come up to fight them, but they also have those that are over to the east, which would be over to the right side of that map, that are coming in. If I could put it to you this way, they're fixing to be surrounded in the ones that they're fighting against. The only safe place to go is to go north. The only safe place is to go on up that way, and it ain't really that safe either. It's just the closest part they can get to. It's a little bit better. They can't go to the left. It's the Mediterranean Sea there. And if you'll scroll that map on down just a little bit again, you'll find the stronghold of the Philistines is in Gaza. It's farther south on that map there, Brother Matt. You'll see Gaza over to the left, right on the Mediterranean Sea. There we go. Right there up to the left of the green dot for Simeon, you can see Gaza and Ashdod and Escalon. Those are strongholds of the Philistines. Matter of fact, there's some of their capital cities there. Gaza's going to play a part here in the text in just a moment. But they're in this localized area here, right there just north of Ephraim there, in all of the land where Gideon is supposed to be doing his fight, and they have forced the children of Israel there into that one spot there. It says here in verse number 4, that they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. So what in the world has happened here? I'll tell you what has happened. The Midianites, the Amalekites, the ones from the east, all these people have teamed up on Israel. They have come into the middle, the very heart of Israel, right there between the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee to the left there. That heart, that main area there of Israel, they have come in there and they have taken everything that they've got. They've taken their homes. They've taken their roadways. They've taken their crops. They've done everything that they can possibly do. They've taken all that they have. Go back to verse 3. It says, and so it was when Israel had sown that the Midianites came up. That's some pretty curious timing right there, ain't it? You want to know a great way to have a lot of spoils of war? Wait until the other enemy plants all the crops. Wait until they're just right and fixed to be ready to harvest, and then come in and take everything. You see, when you plant corn at your house, I wish Brother Dennis was here. We've had this talk already. When you plant corn at your house, the coons don't take it when it's itty-bitty. They wait for there to be ears of corn on there, and then they come and take everything you got. Y'all ask Brother Dennis about his corn crop this year. But be ready to be there for a minute, because he's pretty hurt about them coons and what they did to him. But they waited. They did just like these Midianites did. They waited until the crops were sown and it was coming up, and they went in and they took everything that they had. So let's get in the mindset here of these Israelites and what's going on. They have lived through the winter. The spring has come around. They've gone out. They've worked their fields. They've gotten everything ready to go. They've planted the crops, and everything is going good. And after they got those crops in the ground, summer has come on. It's growing those crops up. Things are doing good. Here come the Midianites. Here come the Amalekites. Here comes the people from the east. They have swept in and taken everything right out from under him, right out from under the children of Israel. Now here's the issue with that. They ain't got coffers full of coins. They don't have silos full of grain. They don't have really anything left anymore because it's in the field. They were running on empty. They were waiting for this crop to come to refill their silos. So they've been left in a very vulnerable spot here. They've been left with no crops in the field. They've been taken. The Bible says that they came and they took all that they had. It says in the tail end of verse 4, they took all. They left no sustenance for Israel. Neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. They had no animals left, according to the Word of God. They don't have much of nothing left anymore. They're sitting there destitute, wondering what in the world they're going to do now. The verse number 5 comes around. For they came up with their cattle. It's talking about the Midianites here. They came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude. They swept across the land, and it's almost like, I don't know if y'all have dealt with army worms or know exactly what I'm talking about. Sue's granddaddy and my daddy as well, they have hay ground, and when they cut their hay, and Brother Kenneth, he's probably got nightmares about army worms in his hay ground. But when those worms come in, they'll hit the ground and they'll begin to eat that grass, and it won't take them a day or two, and you'll look up and they have eaten every bit of the grass that you've got. They're like a plague that is just marching across your pastures and your fields. They go through and they snip the very bottoms of those blades of grass so that they all die out. They were really bad last year. Everybody was going all over the place and buying poison to spray these army worms down. They ate all of the grass. They were eating everybody's hay grounds up, and everybody was all worried that they were going to get into some more crops and things of that nature. That's kind of what's going on with the Midianites here, if you can get that in your mind. They have come across and up into the land, and everything in their path they are consuming, and they are cutting down, and they are burning and razing and getting rid of everything that is in the land. They are doing their absolute best to destroy the land. It says they came as grasshoppers for multitude, for both they and their camels were without number. And they entered into the land, telling in verse 5, to do what? To destroy it. They didn't just want to destroy the children of Israel. They wanted to destroy the land. They wanted it to not be worth anybody living in it anymore. They wanted to get in that place and make it so awful that you might as well just quit and go and try something else somewhere else. It's not even worth fixing. They totaled it. There's a little trailer that is in the bottom right there next to the house, and I've been watching it for years as the grass has grown up and the shingles have blown off and the trailer's just falling apart. And I've always thought to myself, I wish somebody would do something with it, get rid of it, just scratch it off and be done with it. Well, just this past week, apparently somebody was thinking like me, because they went by and they threw a match on it. And the whole trailer done burn up. And now the only thing that's sitting there is the metal frame. That's exactly what the Midianites are trying to do to Israel. They're trying to take everything out to where there is nothing left. They want to destroy the land of Israel. Verse number 6. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. And it came to pass when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel. I did my best to come up with what this prophet, who this prophet was, not what, who this prophet was. I studied and I looked, and one said this and another one said that, and then another one said we don't know, and this one said it doesn't really matter. So I'm kind of the opinion to let the Bible be the Bible. If God wanted us to know who this prophet was, He'd tell us who this prophet was. I think the name of the prophet here is less important than the message of the prophet. I think He's wanting us to focus less on who it is and more on what He's got to say. So He sends this prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt. I brought you forth out of the house of bondage. I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you, and gave you their land. He's trying to remind them that they're crying out unto a God that has done this time and time and time again, and He is completely able to do it once again. He reminds them of all that God has already done. He's brought them out of Egypt. He got them out of bondage. He led them through the wilderness. He has fought battles one after the other for them to help them get to where they are now. But I want you to pay close attention to verse 10. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell, but ye have not obeyed my voice. What he's simply saying here in the text, in verse number 10, he's trying to remind them that it's not the gods of the Amorites that have done this. It's not that the gods of the Amorites are strong enough to beat you. It's not that the gods of the Amorites are strong enough that they have beaten God's people. It has nothing to do with the little g gods of Amorite. It has nothing to do with them. They didn't beat God. They didn't put His people on the run. It wasn't anything to do with them, because at the end of it He says, don't worry about them. Fear not the gods of the Amorites. They don't have the ability to do this. They can't do this to you. The only reason this has happened to you is at the tail end of verse 10. But ye have not obeyed my voice. He said this didn't happen to you because of little g gods of the Amorites. It didn't happen because of those gods. It happened because all the way back in Joshua, you were told that you can't serve God because God's a jealous God and you're going to mess this thing up. And when you stop serving Him and you do something else, He's going to deliver you into the hands of those around you and you will be spoiled. That's exactly what has happened. He's trying to remind them here. A lot of times we get caught up and we think that some outside cause is what is making our life have troubles and strifes. But he's trying to let them know, just like he's done the last several chapters it seems, that the reason this is happening to them is not because somebody else has prevailed against God, not because the devil is winning anything, but because we have disobeyed God, and because of that, He has taken us to the woodshed. We give the devil way too much credit for things that we brought on ourselves. All that happened in David's life this morning, all the fighting that David had to do. Why? Do y'all remember 2 Samuel chapter 12 when Nathan talked to him? He told him, he said, because of everything that you've done, the sword shall not depart from your house. He's telling him right then, because of what you did, this is your consequences. This is what is going to happen. That's what's still happening here in the book of the Judges. It's because you've not obeyed my voice. But then I want you to see the call of Gideon here. Pay attention here to how Gideon is when the angel of the Lord visits him. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under the oak, which was in Ophrah, and pertained unto Joash the Abiezrite, and his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. Brothers, how bad are things in the land of Israel? I'll tell you how bad they are. Old Gideon went out in the field and he got some wheat, whatever little bit was able to survive, whatever the Midianites missed, whatever they were able to defend or hide from them that was not captured. But he was so worried that they were going to get it that when he took the wheat to thresh it, if you're not familiar with the process of threshing wheat, they would take the stalks and the heads of the wheat would still be on there, and they would take it and they would beat it on the ground, and they would try to break all of that loose, and they would wait for a good wind to come through, and they would take those stalks and all of the things that they had been breaking up, and they would throw it up in the air like that. And when they did, the trash would get blown out by that wind, and the wheat would fall where it was. So he's trying to thresh that wheat. He's trying to get rid of the chaff, all of the chaff. He's trying to get rid of all of the things that don't need to be in there and separate it out to just keep the heads of that wheat. But he's so scared to do it in the open that he has to go around behind the wine press, and he's got his little head down and he's peeking up and he's looking around to make sure nobody's looking, and he throws, and then it hits, and he's waiting to make sure that nobody else is going to see what he's doing, because he's scared that the Midianites are going to come and take what little bit they have. Remember, the Bible says that they left no sustenance for Israel in verse 4. They've left nothing. Anything they got, they have snuck it through the Midianites. They have hidden it. They have covered it. They have distracted them. Whatever they have done, anything that they have left now is something that they just got lucky and were able to hide. So he's still hiding it there. It's pretty bad when you're having to hide threshing wheat. It's a testimony to how bad things are for the land of Israel right now. But as he's sitting there and he's trying to hide that, verse 12, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. I bet you Gideon felt real mighty where he was at. I bet you he felt like the mightiest man on the face of the earth. Here I am hiding behind the wine press, trying to thresh my wheat just so I got enough to eat on tonight because there ain't nothing left. And here comes the angel of the Lord and tells me that I'm a mighty man. Tells me that I'm a man of valor. The Lord's with me. I can't believe Gideon didn't just look around and was like, where? Where? And that's what he's fixing to do in the next verse, by the way. Where? What do you mean? You say the Lord's with me. I'm having to hide what I'm going to try to eat for supper. I'm having to hide behind the wine press to be able to even thresh my wheat here. Verse 13. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? Here's another reason Gideon sounds a lot like us. Lord, if you really are God, if you really are on the throne, if you really are here and you really do love me, then why did this happen to me? I've heard it time and time again. I told y'all the church I grew up in, Hurricane Baptist Church, years ago, 2006, 2007, somewhere around about in there. Years ago, we was sitting in church one evening there. I can't remember if it was a Sunday night or a Wednesday night. We just finished shaking hands. I guess it was Sunday night. And a boy comes running in and says, the fellowship hall's on fire. Run out there, of course, it's engulfed in flames. We moved everybody across the road, the community center, and the volunteer fire department right down the road got there, and we're trying to put out the flames, and we got it done, but we began to go in and walk through the building and realize that it was total. All of the light fixtures had the plastic coverings on them. They're all melted and drooping around everywhere. The whole back part of the fellowship hall was prophets' chambers and things of that nature. It's all burnt up. It was ruined. We could not use it anymore. And then a few days later, they were watching the premises to see what happened because it was arson. Just a few days later, somebody goes into the basement of the church and they light some old mattresses and pillows and things on fire. And they burn a massive hole all the way up through the sanctuary there. And it just so happened to be the back left if I'm looking back. And it was right where my family sat. There's a gaping hole in the floor that you could look down and see all the way to the foundation of the church. Burn the church slap up to the point to where it was going to cost more to fix it than it was to build a whole new building. And we found out who it was. And you know why he did it? Because God had just given his daddy cancer. And he was mad at God for giving his daddy cancer. You know what it was? He said, why in the world? My daddy is a pastor. My daddy is a preacher. He's here. He's trying to serve. He's doing everything he can for you. And you let him get cancer. That's what Gideon's saying here. He's saying, Lord, if you're here, God, if this really is you, if you really are with us, then why is all this happening to us? Why is this all taking place in our life? Why is all this befalling on us? We got a bad case and want to say, God, why are you letting this happen to me? Time and time again. But let me just shoot this from the hip. This just popped in my mind. I can't recall a single time in the book of Job where Job asked God why it happened. Y'all remember one? I don't either. So if y'all find one in like Job chapter 23 hidden somewhere, let me know. Like I said, I'm shooting this from the hip. I didn't study it. But off the top of my head, Job, if anybody's got an excuse to say, God, why are you letting this happen to me? It would be Job. But I don't recall. Nothing really jumps out to me of him doing that. Now, half of y'all are going to have an opportunity to prove the pastor wrong, so y'all are going to study your Bibles real hard this week. Just as for an opportunity. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to give y'all a challenge and say, prove me wrong. Bring me book, chapter, and verse. And you can prove me wrong in front of God and everybody. That would probably get people in their Bibles. I used to do that with the youth group all the time. I'd give them the opportunity. I said, y'all prove me wrong. I'll get in the pulpit and say that you were right and I was wrong. I started to tell them I was going to make t-shirts for them that said, Brother Easton told me I was right. If that was the case, I would have had to give out like 2 of them in 7 years. That's why they wanted to try so hard. But I can't remember a time where he was mad and asking God why it happened. No, he just went and got a sackcloth. He went and got the ashes. And he went and he sat down. And he began to mourn and grieve for his kids and all of his loss. But why, when things go so bad in our lives, the first thing we want to do is, God, why did you let it happen to me? Why? I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to do right. Why is this happening to me? He says there, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles, which our fathers told us of? Saying, did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. Lord, really? You just showed up. You just told me I was a mighty man of valor. You just said the Lord's with us. And now I look around. And let me just tell you what I see, Lord. This is what I see. I see all the crop fields are destroyed. I see all the flocks are gone. I see all the houses are deserted because people are living in caves and hiding. I see that I'm having to hide behind the wine press what little bit I was able to keep, so that I had something for my meal and thresh my wheat behind the wine press. Lord, I'm looking around and I don't see nothing good. I'm looking around, I don't see anything good as far as the eye can see. They're like grasshoppers that have come up. Their camels are without number. They're without number. And if it wasn't bad enough that the Midianites were there, the Amalekites are there, the children of the east are there, everywhere I look, God, it is bad. There is nothing good going on. But yet you say that you're with me. There's a lesson in there somewhere. I wonder how many times we've looked up in our life and said, God, there just ain't nothing good there. Lord, everything I want is just falling to the wayside. Everything that I wanted to work out in my life is just gone bad. It has not happened. I've hit that stone wall. Nothing works for me anymore. Why'd you let it happen? Maybe the Lord wanted us to go a different way. But I love this. The Lord that brought us up out of Egypt, the Lord of all these miracles, where is all this at? But now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. I didn't notice this until a little while ago as I was studying. Verse 14, and the Lord looked upon him and said, go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? You know what that word might means? Go in your might. He's saying go in your vigor. Go with that fire that you've got. Because the angel of the Lord just showed up and said, you're with me. What did Gideon do? Gideon swelled up like a bullfrog and turned on him and said, really? Where's he at? Huh? You think God's with me? Everywhere I look, it's bad. You say you're here, God, but everybody's starving, everybody's running, everybody's hiding, nothing good's going on. Why in the world can't this work out? You want to say you're with us and you ain't doing nothing for us. Matter of fact, you have forsaken us. And God very calmly looks at him and said, take that attitude, turn it on them. Take that energy and put it on somebody else. Take that and go and fight, and you might just figure this thing out. You might just have enough fire and grit about you to go and get it done. Go in this, thy might, thy vigor, thy fire that you've got there, that spunk that he's got. And thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? And he said unto them, O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? What have I got to work with? Behold, my family's poor in Manasseh, and I'm the least in my father's house. Lord, I ain't got no money. I'm the least in my father's house. Ain't nobody going to follow me. Ain't nobody going to fight for me. Ain't nobody going to have my back. I'm going to have to do this thing all by myself. I can't do it, Lord. I have nothing in of myself that's going to help me finish this. It's like the Lord saying, that's exactly why I picked you, because I didn't want anything you had. I wanted you to depend on me. Verse number 16. And the Lord said unto him, surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. You said you're least in your father's house. You said that you're poor. Pretty much you're saying you're all by yourself in this. The Lord said, okay, we'll use just one man then. That'll be just fine. We'll set you up right here and let you do it. Of course, we know later on it's not going to be him by himself. But in verse number 17, and he said unto him, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that thou talkest with me. Here we go. Here's Gideon, a.k.a. Baptist again. Show me a sign. I got to have you. You got to prove to me what I need to be doing, Lord. Show me a sign. If you're really here, if you really want me to do this, show me. Depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come unto thee, and bring forth my present and set it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. Verse 19 gave me a little bit of a loop, a little whirl here. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid. I didn't think we had any of those left. And unleavened cakes of an ephah of flour. I didn't think we had any sustenance left. And the flesh he put in a basket. And he put the broth in a pot. And brought it out unto him under the oak. And presented it. You know what he's done? He's gone back to what little bit of store he's got. He's gone back to the only things he's been able to keep. See, they took all the flocks. They took all of the crops in the field. They've destroyed all that. That's what the Word of God has told us. But somehow, somewhere, he's produced a kid. He's produced enough flour here to make some unleavened cakes. And he's made a broth here for the angel of the Lord. I would venture to say, on his own admission, his family's poor. They have nothing left. The rest of the land doesn't have much sustenance for him to go and get. Things are as bad as they can possibly be. This reminds me almost like that little widow woman there and her barrel full of meal and her little cruse of oil. Just enough for this last little bit. Just enough for a little bit more. Why was this such a present from him? It was such a present from him because he didn't have much else to give. So he brought that present unto him. And now notice verse number 20. And the angel of God said unto him, take the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and lay them upon the rock, and pour out the broth. And he did so. As I was studying and looking at this, something was jumping out to me here in this verse. It's almost like the angel of the Lord wanted him to take what little food and what little broth, what little sustenance that he had left, and make it unusable for anything. He put it in a basket. It tells us that in verse number 19. It says he took the flesh and he put it in a basket. And he put the broth in a pot. And then he goes up to the angel of the Lord and he's trying to give him this gift. It's the best gift that he's got is some food. They don't have much in the land. It's the best thing he's got to give. And the angel of the Lord says, all right, first thing I want you to do, I want you to take that flesh out. I want you to take the unleavened cakes, and I want you to take them out of that nice little basket where you prepped them, and I want you to put them on that dirty rock over there where nobody want to eat it no more. And then I want you to take that broth that you put in that pot, and I want you to pour it out on the ground. I can just see Gideon here, who don't have much of nothing, who's probably hungry, he's probably on rations, trying to keep things lively, trying to stay up and in health right now, and he goes and he gives this present, and the first thing they do is pour it out on the ground. Just pour it out on the ground. It's about like when David's mighty men fought through the enemy lines and went to the well and brought him that water back to the cave there. And David said those men put their lives in jeopardy. There's no way I can drink the water they brought. And he poured it out as a drink offering unto the Lord. This angel of the Lord here has taken what was so important to Gideon and put it on the ground and poured it out to where it couldn't be used anymore. It's almost like he was getting Gideon to show how faithful he was. Because he told him what he wanted him to do, and the tail end of verse 20 he says what? And he did so. He had the option to not do it. He had the option to hold on to what was so precious in those days and times, what was so meaningful to them. But he didn't. He laid it out for the Lord. You see, I believe right here this tells us that Gideon already had some hope. He already had some faith that this sign was going to be answered. Think about this now. Open up your head and your mind a little bit. The angel of the Lord comes to him. He says, you're going to go and fight the Midianites. You're going to deliver Israel out of their hands. And Gideon says, I need a sign. So he goes and he takes what little bit of food that he's got. He brings it out. He lays it out there for the angel of the Lord. And the angel of the Lord says, all right, now I want you to damage it in such a way where you don't want to eat it no more. I want you to lay it on the dirty rocks, and I want you to pour that out. And Gideon here had a choice. Do I trust what he's saying is true and that I'm going to tackle the Midianites, because if so, there's going to be more food in the land? Or do I not believe it and keep what little bit I got? I believe it's one of the first times here that we can see that Gideon has some faith to him. I know he's asking for a sign. I know he's asking for some proof that this is really going to happen. But if he didn't have faith that it was going to happen, I don't believe that he would have poured all this out. I don't believe he'd have listened to it. I don't believe he would have done it. Then the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and there rose up fire out of the rock and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. And when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord, Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for because I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face. The Lord said unto him, Peace be unto thee. Fear not, thou shalt not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto the Lord and called it Jehovah Shalom, Jehovah Peace. Unto this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass that same night that the Lord said unto him, Take thy father's young bullock. Here we go again. Here's another animal that ain't supposed to be here because they said they ain't no more flocks. Said they took all that stuff away. Where has this been at? I would say that at great harm potentially to himself, he has held back at least 2 bullocks. It says, Take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father hath, and cut down the grove that is by it. It's been quite a while now, but try to explain what those groves were. Of course, we know the altar here to Baal, this idol worship that they were so involved with. If you want to know what the groves were, think along the lines of a totem pole. Think along those lines. There were wooden structures there. There were ordination or had decorations all over them. I don't know what word I was trying to use right there. I don't think it was a real word. But it had decorations on it. It was carved and it was made to look a certain way to represent some more idols that they had there. So these totem pole looking things here that were crucial to idol worship of Baal. I want you to take the altar and throw it down. I want you to cut down the grove that's by it. I want you to build an altar unto the Lord thy God upon the top of this rock, in the ordered place. And take the second bullock and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove, which thou shalt cut down. I was very curious why in the world it had to be the second bullock. We ain't even heard about the first one yet. He ain't even said nothing about the first one. It just says take the second one. So why in the world do we have to take the second one? Best I can figure from my study and looking at it, it's more than likely true that the first bullock had already been dedicated to Baal. It had already been set aside and grown and fattened up strictly to use and sacrifice to Baal. You know, in the Old Testament, they had to offer a lamb without blemish. When they had one that fit the profile in the bill, they would set them to the side. That would be the one that's going to be their Passover lamb. It was the one they were going to use all year long as they would watch that lamb. Not all year long, it'd be grown up, but the whole time they had that lamb, they would watch it and they would care for it and make sure it didn't have those blemishes that would develop. The red heifers are going to be sacrificed when they make the third temple there. They need red heifers to sanctify all the instruments. If you've never looked it up, there are more red heifers in existence right now. There's only been 7 recorded in history, if memory serves. There's either 3 or 4 of them alive right now. Just in case you're wondering how close they are to building the third temple and this thing coming to an end. There's you some food for thought that you can go and look at. But those red heifers, they would have to go and they would check them every day to make sure they never grew a hair that was not red. They're still doing it today, by the way, in Israel. They have these red heifers and they are checking them day in and day out, and they're going out there and they're making sure they haven't grown anything that would disqualify them from being one of the red heifers they need to sanctify the instruments for temple worship when it starts back. But this bullock, the first one there that was for Baal, has been set to the side, and God is simply saying, I don't want that one. I don't want Baal's leftovers. I want my own stuff. I want a fresh one. Not only do I want a fresh one, I want you to go to the altar of Baal, and you're going to tear it down. But that's not enough. You're going to the grove, and you're going to tear the grove down. But that's not enough either. I want you to take the pieces of that altar there, and I want you to take my bullock, and I want you to put it on that altar of Baal after it's been destroyed. I'm going to take what he had and I'm going to make it mine once again. And I want you to take that grove and all of those totems and all of those idols that they were worshiping there, and I want you to make that the wood of the burnt sacrifice. I'm going to take everything that Baal had and I'm going to destroy it, and I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to put my own sacrifice on it, and I'm going to reclaim everything that Baal had. Verse 26, he says, I want you to take that second bullock and offer the burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove, which thou shalt cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had said unto him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down. The grove was cut down that was by it. And the second bullock was offered upon the altar that was built. And they said one to another, Who hath done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon the son of Joash has done this thing. Then the men of the city said unto Joash, Bring out thy son, that he may die, because he hath cast down the altar of Baal, and because he hath cut down the grove that was by it. Joash is fixing to give one of my favorite answers anytime something like this happens in the Word of God. Verse 31. And Joash said unto them, said unto all that stood against him, Will ye plead for Baal? Will ye save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death whilst it is yet morning. How about this? If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his altar. You know what he's saying there? He's saying y'all are all up in arms because somebody took down the altar of Baal. But if Baal truly is a god, do you not think he can handle it himself? Do you not think Baal can do it himself? And you know what didn't happen? Baal didn't do nothing, because Baal ain't there. Baal was just some wooden idols in a pile of rocks over there to the side that they were worshiping. He said, is he not a god? What Joash is doing here, even though this was his altar, it was his groves, it was his first bullock that was going to go to that, because of what he has seen happen here, and because it was his son that did it, he steps back and says, I'll tell you what, I'm not delivering him to you. I'm not doing it. I'm going to be on my boy's side, and this is what we're going to do. If Baal truly is a god, we'll let him handle his own problems. Of course, he doesn't ever do it. Therefore, on that day, he called him Jerubbaal, saying, Let Baal plead against him, because he hath thrown down his altar. That becomes Gideon's second name there, and it literally means Baal contends. But Baal didn't contend nothing. He didn't do anything. Then all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the children of the east were gathered together and went over and pitched in the valley of Jezreel. Second picture, Brother Matt, if I ain't put you to sleep up there. You have to zoom her out just a hair there, please. All right. So if you look right there, you got Sea of Galilee, you got Mount Carmel over to the left. Follow that river that goes down from Mount Carmel. Jezreel Valley right there. That's where Gideon is about to do all of this fight. And that's where the Amalekites, the Midianites, the children of the east, that's where all these people have come together. Now, look, it says Mount Tabor is right there, just north of that where we already fought. We just fought there 2 chapters ago in Judges chapter number 4 with Deborah. It just went down right there. Now it's just going to go down again. Go ahead and go to the next picture if you don't mind, Brother Matt. We'll go ahead and get this one while we're here. So that's where it's happening. You still see that same valley right there, okay? Just south of the tribe of Zebulun there. You can see the Jezreel Valley. This is where it's fixing to happen. That's where the fight is about to take place. Verse 34, but the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezer was gathered after him. Did you hear that? He told the Lord that he was going to have to do this like one man, because he was poor and he was the least in his father's house. But now he blows the trumpet, and guess what? Everybody's joined up with him. Everybody's come out of the woodwork to help fight alongside of him. He sent messengers throughout all of Manasseh. That's that southern part there, that yellow cream looking color, all of that land of the tribe of Manasseh. He sent messengers unto them, who also was gathered after him. He sent messengers unto Asher, top left up there. He sent them all the way up there. And unto Zebulun, that little purple shaded area there. And then he sent them to Naphtali, which is way over there to the right, that green one just to the left of the Sea of Galilee. And guess what? They came up to meet them. For somebody who thought he was all by himself, it's amazing how much God will help you if you just go and do what he says to do. And Gideon said unto God, if thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said. Here we go. Behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth besides, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said. Here we go with another sign. We got to have a little more proof, Lord. I've already just been proven wrong because I thought I was by myself. Now I've got all these tribes that are helping me. I've already gone and I tore down this altar of Baal in the groves, and I thought that was going to be the end, but it wasn't. Instead, everything turned out good, and now people are answering my call. But just in case you're still not sure that you're going to help me, give me another sign. I'm going to lay this fleece out on the ground. And if the fleece is wet in the morning and the ground is dry, I'll know that you're with me. I know that you're going to deliver me. I know that this is your will that I go and I fight. So, of course, we know the story. The Lord does as he says in verse 38. And it was so, for he rose up early on the morrow and thrust the fleece together and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. But it wasn't enough. And Gideon said unto God, let not thine anger be hot against me. I will speak but this once. One more time, Lord. One more time. This is our third sign in this chapter. One more sign. And by the way, Gideon's not done with signs. We'll see him in the next chapter or the one after that. I can't remember. He's going to have some more signs. But one more time, Lord. Please, one more time. Mom and Daddy used to always pick on me and my brother when he was little. Anytime they were doing something fun and they said it's time to put up the toy or whatever, he'd look at me and say, one more time. One more time. And now Darden does the same thing. So Gideon here is one more sign, Lord. I need you to tell me one more again and make sure I got this right. Let not your anger be hot against me. I'll speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee. But this once, with the fleece, let it now be dry only on the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew. All right, first time around, I asked for the ground to be dry and the fleece to be wet. You did it. Now to prove that there's no way that this is coincidence, I want you to switch it up. I want the fleece to be dry and the ground to be wet. Verse 40, and God did so that night. For it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground. And it was so. I've held you in suspense all night, but let me give you my little tidbit on this. Ladies, if you want to come on the piano, I'm going to put the bow on top right here. The whole chapter, Gideon has been trying to figure out if this is really God wanting him to do this or not. He asks for the first sign. He gets it. He knows it's the Lord talking to him. Then he asks for the sign with the fleece. He gets it. Then he asks for him to do it again. He gets it again. And I think this whole chapter, we can sum up what Gideon is doing with one word. He's stalling. He's stalling. Because he knows what the Lord wants him to do. He knows he's going to go and he's going to fight against Midian, but he's done everything that he possibly can to slow that process down. So I had this question that popped in my mind. What do we do when we know what the Lord wants us to do? Do we go and do we do it? Or do we got to have this sign and that sign and that sign after that, and Lord, prove that you're going to do it. Because so many times I've talked with people and they've been on fire for God. It's like, I'm going to do a better job of witnessing. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. I've been praying that the Lord would give me an opportunity. And then the Lord gives the opportunity. And they just don't do nothing with it. They don't take the opportunity. Lord, I'm going to be faithful in church. I'm going to do so much better. And then you don't see them anymore. It's almost like they want the Lord to use them, but when He's answered every single sign and showed them exactly what He wants them to do, they've done just like Gideon. Lord, I need another sign. I need another proof. I need to make sure this is it. So let me just ask us this tonight, ladies, you begin to play. This is my little tidbit. This is my summing it up, cherry on top, however you want to put it. In the life of Gideon, let's all stand tonight. In the life of Gideon, he knew what God wanted him to do, and you're going to find, and it's going to make more sense as we go on with Gideon. But time and time again, he knows exactly what God wants him to do. But instead of doing it, he wants another sign. He wants to prepare and prepare and prepare. My baseball coach said it well. He said, you can practice, 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 but nothing compares to game time experience. Nothing compares. You can sit out there, you can do all the drills, you can hit in the cage, you can throw, you can take ground balls, you can take fly balls, you can do everything time and time and time again. But until you get up to the plate, and there's a whole crowd of folks behind you hollering and cheering your name and heckling you from the other side, you just don't know. There's some things you just can't learn until you get in. I see a lot of church folks, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody. Lord, what do you want me to do on this? Lord, help me do that. Lord, I want to see this part of the church grow, or I want you to work on this one or work on that one. I want you to help me to know more about your word. I want you to do all these things, and I'll sit there and I'll prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare, and I'll try to do everything I can, but get started on it. I have a guy that works with me, and their house is burnt down a while back. And I ask him every week as I've talked to him, I said, you got a house built yet? And he always says, we're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. We got to decide on the style of house. We got to decide if we want to build it in the same spot. We got to decide if we want a wood frame or a metal frame. It's been one thing after the other. And then after they decided what they want, he said, we're talking to contractors, see which angle we want to go. Do we want this one to build it or that one to build it? And finally this week I asked him, he said, we're fixing to get started. There's a lot of Christians today, they've done everything but get started. Gideon has done everything in this text. He's prepped the army. He's got the signs. He's done everything he possibly can do. God has done everything He's asked of him. But in the next chapter, we're going to find out, does Gideon do it, or does he just stay there? Child of God, are we just going to do it, or are we just going to hang out and keep asking for more signs?